Good morning, students. Today's class is going to be on research design. Okay, sampling we'll study in the next class. Research design. Okay, what is research design? A research design is a systematic plan to study a scientific problem. We already studied about research problem. A design means how you will make a overall view of the problem. So you are making a full plan for the research. So that is research design. So research design is the framework. So for example, in simple words, if you want to understand, before you build a building, first you have to make a plan. Okay, on paper you make a plan for the building, and then what do? Then based on the plan you buy all the things, and then you make the structure, the outside structure. First what do they do when they build a building? They put a foundation, they dig the sand and put the foundation, then they raise the pillars, and then only they build the building. Same way, before you do a research, you have to plan for that research, and then you have to make a framework is all the pillars that you make, and then only you can do the research. So that is what research design is. Okay, so the design of a study defines the study type. So when you make the plan itself, you will decide what type of study you are going to do, whether it is a descriptive study, correlational study, semi-experimental study, experimental study, or other types of study. We'll see what are these later. They may seem to be very difficult words, but each of it has an explanation. We will see what these study types are later. So what are the needs for research design? Why do we need a research design? Because if you have a research design, then it will help in smooth sailing of the various research operations. If you do not have a design, at every step you will come and stop, and then you have to think what to do next. Whereas if you make a research design first itself, then when you do the actual research, it makes life easy for you. That is why we spend a lot of time thinking about the research, what you are going to do before you start the research, because after you start, it is very difficult for you to come back and restart again. So that is why research design is very important, and research design has a significant impact on the reliability of the results. So if your research design is good, then the results that you get from the study will also be reliable. If your research design is wrong, then the result of your study will not be reliable. So this is very important. Reliability of the results is very important, and for that, good research design is important. So just like I said about the house being built, it's like a blueprint. So blueprint is the basic drawing or plan of the house. Like that, for the research design is the blueprint. Okay. Next we'll come to why we need the research design. We need research design because it reduces inaccuracy. Inaccuracy means the results being not reliable. Accuracy means the results being reliable. So in other words, instead of saying it reduces inaccuracy, you can say it improves the accuracy of the result. So that is the first need for the research design. The second need is it helps to get maximum efficiency and reliability. Okay, the reliability will be high, efficiency will also be high. You will not waste time, you will not waste resources if you have a proper research design. Then the third thing is it eliminates bias and errors. So when you have a proper research design, you will not be biased in your results. See, whenever you do research, you already have some things in your mind, how your research is going to be and how the results will come. So if your design is wrong, what will happen is your mind will make you to move the research in the way that you think is right. Okay, that is bias. Means it is not really right, but what you think is right. So if you have a good research design, it will eliminate this bias and remove the errors. And as I said before, good research design will minimize wastage of time. Otherwise, every step you will stop and think how to do, what to do the next step. Because you have already made a research design and a plan and a blueprint, before starting the research. Once you start the research, you can go one step to next step and the next step quite quickly, and you will prevent wastage of time. Then the next thing is, the research design will help you in collecting research materials. You will know what materials to collect, and it will be done quickly, and you can have a good literature review for the research. And it will also help in testing the hypothesis. So a research design will help in testing the hypothesis properly. And when you make the research design itself, you will know what are the resources that you need in terms of money, manpower, time and effort, which hospital you are going to do the research in, which village or community you are going to do the research in, how many times you will have to travel to that place, how much money you will spend in traveling, how much money you will spend in making the questionnaires, or how many people you need to do the study. So all these things you will have an idea once you make a good research design. Then the research design will actually give a overview to the experts. For example, if you are a student and you are making a research design, then your guide will be able to know what you are planning to do and how you are planning to do. So it gives an overview to the experts who look at your design. Then it also finally guides the research in the right direction. So if you have a research design, then it will guide you, because it's a planned thing. It will guide you in the right direction. Otherwise you will get stuck, you won't know what is right, what is wrong, and you will not be able to do the research properly. So there are different research designs. We will just go through the names now, and then study it one by one in detail in a later stage. There are many ways in which we can classify the research designs. But the most common ways in which you classify the research designs are: one, you call them descriptive studies. Descriptive studies are usually case studies, natural observations and surveys. Correlational studies. Correlation means you are comparing one group to the other. So this is case control study. Observational study comes under correlational studies. Okay, semi-experimental study. So semi-experimental, there are two types: field experiment and quasi-experiment. And experimental study is actually one of the better studies. So you are doing an experiment. And then review. There are two types of review: literature review and systematic review. And then finally meta-analysis. Okay, here you use statistical methods, and and that is another type of research design. So most of the studies come under either descriptive, correlational, semi-experimental, experimental, or meta-analytic research designs. So one of the first things that we are going to study is about a social survey, because most of you are going to do a survey as medical sociologists. It's easier to do a social survey for you, though more value will be given to experimental studies and case control studies. They will have more value, but surveys also have their own value, especially when you do it in the field and you involve a lot of people. So let's see what social survey is all about. Social survey involves obtaining information in a standardized form, okay, from large groups of people. So you are getting information from a lot of people in a standardized form. So what are the basic things? If you want to get standardized information, then the most important thing is a questionnaire or a interview that is structured. Okay, structured means you have pre-planned and made a interview schedule. That is, you already have a typed questionnaire or written questionnaire, or a typed or written interview schedule. Okay, so it is pre-planned, and the questionnaire is already made, and that is used for the survey to a large number of people. So this helps you to collect information from a lot of people, and you just have to give the questionnaire to them. You have to ensure that they know the language and they are also able to read it. If some people are illiterate and are not able to read it, then you as the researcher should read it out for them without bias. And also, if a person is not understanding a particular language, you have to translate the questionnaire into that particular language and collect the information. Okay, so that is how you collect data through interviews and questionnaires as part of the social survey research design. Okay, so what are the types of questions that you ask in this questionnaire? There are two types of questions. One is a pre-coded or a closed questionnaire. That means you have questions where you have already given the answers and the person has to only tick saying yes or no, or agree or disagree, or strongly agree, strongly disagree. Okay, so you already have given the answers. Most of you will actually give pre-coded questions. Okay, the problem of this pre-coded question is even if the patient or the person who is taking the survey wants to tell you some other information, they cannot tell you the information because it is limited to what questions you are asking. Okay, I hope you understood. The person who is taking the survey, they will not be able to give other answers which are different from what you have written in your questionnaire. Okay, so that is a problem of pre-coded questionnaire. But the advantage of pre-coded questionnaire is you have already planned what is relevant to your study and only those questions are included in the questionnaire. The next type of questionnaire is the open-ended questionnaire. Here it is less structured and there are open-ended questions. For example, you ask, what do you think about the government of India? What do you think, how long do you think coronavirus will stay in India? How long will coronavirus affect people? These are open-ended questions. So the person can tell 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 1 day, 5 days. So the answers are unlimited. Whereas if you have a pre-coded or closed question, then you will give the choice. You will say, how long will coronavirus persist in India? The choice you give is 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 1 month, 1 day. So you have 5 or 6 choices, that's all. So your choice will be limited unlike in an open-ended questionnaire. So the advantage of open-ended questionnaire is there is no preset choice of answer to the person taking the survey. So you will get a lot of data which is more than what you imagined, and different kinds of data you will be able to get. So that is the advantage of open-ended questionnaire. Okay, so once you have decided on these surveys, how do you administer the survey? Okay, different ways in which you can give the survey. So you can send your questionnaire to your study subjects in different ways. Okay, so they can once they get the questionnaire, they can complete it on their own, fill the information and send it to you if they are educated people and if they are able to understand what your study is about. And if they are like that, then you can send your questionnaire by post or email also. Okay, but in case the person is not able to understand what you are asking in your question, then you have to personally go and sit and interview the person. And you can also leave your questionnaire online. There are so many questionnaires on the internet. Each time you visit a bank for online transaction, they give a questionnaire saying whether you are satisfied with the services of the bank. So that is one type of questionnaire which is present online and you get the data. Okay, you can also do the interview by phone, or you can visit the person's house and do the interview. So these are different ways of administering the survey or questionnaire. Okay, so next we'll see what is meant by structured interviews with closed questions. I already told you structured interview with a closed question means you have specific answers in mind and you want your the interviewee or your subject to only give those answers. Okay, so that means there is less chance of the person who's taking the questionnaire to give you different types of answers. The problem with structured interviews with closed questions is it is limited in terms of the amount of questions, so you cannot have, and the answers also. So when it is limited in terms of the amount of questions and answers, your data which is collected will be less. Sometimes it is an advantage if you have a smaller study and if you have a focused study, But if you want to collect more information, more data, and have an open minded view, then you have to go for open questions. Okay, the problems with structured questionnaire is that there is a lot of interviewer bias. So what it means is, when you ask questions, you will interpret it in a different way. Okay, for example, there is a way in which you can ask questions. You can ask, do you think the government is doing a good job about the coronavirus? That is a normal way of asking. And if you ask sarcastically, do you think government is doing a good job? That's a sarcastic way of saying. So that means the person who is undergoing the interview will already think in his mind that you are against the government, and he will sometimes give a negative answer if he wants to please you. Okay, and even the way this similarly, like you ask the questions in a sarcastic way, the person who is taking the interview will also answer sometimes in a sarcastic way. So you will be biased in the way you interpret the answers. So all these interviewer bias is present in the structured questionnaire. So these structured questionnaires actually based on the age of the person, based on the gender of the person, based on the ethnicity of the person, they will give biased answers. They may not be truthful in giving the answers, especially when you are asking the questions in person. When you are standing in front of the patient and asking questions, they will not tell the truth sometimes. That is because they do not want to hurt you, they do not want to hurt the community. So what they actually feel in their mind, they will not share with you. So that is why it is always better for a female person to interview a female person, especially if it's female related issues. And it is always better for a person who is not in authority to interview a person who is poor, who is having poverty. So such people, you have to find the right type of people to interview the right type of subjects. Same way, instead of interviewing, if the person is able to fill the form which is being sent to them by post, then that would try to eliminate the bias. And also anonymous answers will help in eliminating bias. But sometimes you cannot have anonymous questions because your research is structured in such a way that you need the data of the person, including the place where they live and all the other details. So these are the things that are called as interviewer bias. Bias means you do not get the right answers for the questions because the patient thinks differently, that you will think bad of them, or you will think bad of probably what their answer. So they give the wrong answer just to please you, or to please themselves, or to please the people who are watching the interview being conducted. So that is interviewer bias, and that is a problem with the questionnaire and survey method. Hope you understood research design and the survey method of conducting research. We will study sampling and the other methods of conducting research in later classes. Thank you.